How's it going, boys? My name is Wes. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. School's kept me very busy, but I'm home for summer now, and I want to just reflect on something I've been working towards throughout the spring semester since January, and the effects that I've experienced, the positive side effects, how I did it, why I did it, and hopefully from my ramblings someone can gain something. That's all I hope. Essentially, I had a more formal intro. I didn't like the sound of it after listening back, but essentially, since January, I've cut out short form content or I've cut back rather quite a bit, and I've even cut back background noise as a whole. And I've experienced a lot of good positive side effects because of it. And I want this video to serve as a reflection of my experience on trying to become more intentional with what I give my attention to. And that is probably going to be the title. That is the entire point of this reflection, this discussion, to explore how I became more intentional with what I give my attention to, how I benefited from it, and overall a kind of a critique on the overconsumption of media and the normalization of constantly flooding our brains with information and music and videos and stimuli. But yeah, I hope you get something from it, and I hope you enjoy. Now, but before we get into everything, just to set the stage, I do want to briefly touch on the rise of prevalence of social media within the last 5 years. Of course, social media has been around for a lot longer, but since 2020, since everyone was home during that whole COVID crap, it has just boomed into this omnipotent industry. And I mean, it completely shifted from being a place to keep up with peers, family, public figures, and fostering real interactions to just being the common cop-out anytime you feel slightly bored. And saying that, I sound exactly like every other Joe Schmo who has critiqued social media, but it's worth restating. I mean, there's a reason you see hundreds of videos critiquing social media. Anyways, I just finished my freshman year of college at a pretty large school, and I've observed just some crazy instances of doom scrolling in public that I want to touch on, just to sort of give some background as to why I'm kind of making this. For instance, like, it's a pretty big campus, and there's a lot of people. And the amount of people who I see breaking neck, I mean 90 degrees, neck 90 degrees parallel with the ground, looking down, scrolling on their phone full blast, it's just crazy. I mean, it's almost problematic. I mean, you're running into them, they look like they're about to walk into the street, and they don't know when to stop. I mean, like, genuinely not looking up. And before I expand further, I do want to preface, I'm not expressly trying to throw judgment at anyone who uses social media for entertainment, but I do think it's pretty clear that many people spend way too much time using social media for entertainment, and it's legit an infinite stimulus. And once you become a genuine doom scroller, that's when it becomes a problem. Like, I'm talking about those guys who can't share a meal sitting down with their friends without scrolling on their phone, which I will circle back to this, because that's also very prevalent at my school. And I'm sure it's prevalent at a lot of other schools, and in public in general. But I first want to talk about this interaction I had when leaving the chow hall. So the doors, just for a little context, the windows are a little bit tinted. Not crazy, but it was getting dark outside. I didn't see that he was coming through. There's three sets of double doors. You can pick whichever one you want. And we happened to choose the same one, and he was coming in, I was going out, and you know, we just hit a little shoulder brush, nothing serious. It wasn't like a, what the hell, you, like, where you, like, look where you're walking. It wasn't nothing like that, you know what I mean? But this dude was breaking neck, 90 degrees looking at the phone, and you know, naturally I said excuse me, apologized, and he shot me up maybe the worst 1,000-yard stare. Though it was the worst 1,000-yard stare I've seen all year, and it wasn't long. It was maybe 3 seconds, and then he went right back to it. Instagram on full blast, breaking neck, scrolling, walking to the elevator. And I mean, like, you know, this isn't a huge deal, but it was just so crazy how his focus was entirely absorbed by the little screen in his hand. He didn't even say anything. He didn't even say it's alright. He didn't say excuse me himself. He didn't say squat. He just stared at me for a brief second, and I don't even know if you can call it a stare. I don't even know if he was looking at me. It looked like he was looking at me, but I couldn't tell. This isn't even like a crazy or awkward negative interaction, and I'm kind of making a joke out of it, but it could have been completely avoided if he weren't glued to the screen. And once again, like, it's not a big deal, but this happened just the other day on one of my last days of class, and I wanted to make a point of it because it's different if you are checking your phone. You know, you check a notification, you gotta make a call, reply to a text. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and call that out, of course. Everyone does that. I do that. I don't walk around scrolling. I don't walk around glued to the phone. And I'm not saying I'm holier than thou because I don't. But I'm just saying, you know, we need to set limits on ourselves. It's one thing to sit and hit the doom in your free time, in your own privacy. It's another thing to do it in public and not be aware of the world around you and others around you. But I mean, hell, at my school, this seems to be, like, deadass seems to be the norm. It's the norm to see people walking around genuinely scrolling, like, sometimes rapid fire scrolling, like they ain't even trying to watch whatever the hell is on there. And that leads me to my next example of observing people waiting for anything. Waiting for a class to start. Waiting, specifically, I'm going to touch on waiting in line at the chow hall. At peak dinner hours, like 6:30, 7 p.m., sometimes the lines at the dining hall I went to for dinner were crazy long. I mean, like, probably over 100 people. Maybe not that much, but pushing it, like pushing 100 people. 100 dudes lined up to get their share of goulash slapped on their little plate. And I mean, despite the lines getting long, they move pretty quick. But as soon as the dude hits that line, phones come out, and they're scrolling, and they're not looking up. Line starts to move, they're still looking down at the phone, they mosey on. I've never had to wait longer than a few minutes, even when the lines are crazy long like this. But they gotta wait more than 30 seconds, and like I said, that phone comes out, and 30 seconds might be a generous estimate. And once again, like, I'm not trying to just, like, hate on dudes. Waiting in line is boring, I get it. I'm not saying you gotta, you know, you don't, it's unrealistic to expect everyone to just thug it out. Like, I'll just sit there and I'll just wait. I'll just look around, I'll people watch. Like, what happened to people watching, though? That's what I'm saying. What happened to people watching? I love people watching. That's why I've keyed in on this so much, because I sit and I people watch. But I mean, like, once again, if you think, like, 10 years ago, people waiting in line, I don't remember there being just a sea of phones whenever there was a crowd waiting in line. Granted, I mean, I was like 10 at that time, but the point is, it's not healthy to fill every instance of idle time with stimuli. And this point itself can go way broader than just the phone and doom scrolling. I mean, this can even apply to books. You don't want to be reading every single minute that you have downtime, because once again, that's still stimulus, just still consuming media, just in a different form. But the scrolling epidemic was my main exigence for discussion here, so that's what I'm going to stick to. I'm not going to get into filling any sort of downtime with any sort of media. That's a whole different can of worms. And of course, once again, I will check my phone in line. I'll make text while in line. I'll make a call while in line. I don't know if I've ever really sat and scrolled in public, even when I was a couple years ago, back when I was a bedrotter, like regularly on the Doom. Even back then, I don't think I was ever scrolling in public, and it's just crazy to me how normative it's become. Just to be completely absorbed into that little phone, man. It's like we're living in WALL-E. My buddy Josh said this one time. Me and him were sharing a meal in the dining hall, and it was at peak hour. Hella people in line, and he's talking about in his class how they had to wait for the professor to do something, like to go get papers to pass out or something, and immediately phones came out, and he was like, bro, all I could think of is we're living in WALL-E. If you haven't seen WALL-E, which I haven't seen in a while, but I'll refresh your memory, all the humans in WALL-E are glued to screens, and they don't do anything without watching stuff. I mean, I think that's all they do. I'll have to go back and rewatch the movie, but I believe all they do is watch shows and news and stuff on these little screens. And that, it's just so unfortunate how, I mean, WALL-E came out in 2008, less than 20 years later, and we're seeing parallels between the fictional human behavior of WALL-E and real human behavior of real life. And it's just, they so unfortunately predicted the impact of the digitization of society. And I mean, why wouldn't those guys doom scroll online? There's nothing else to do, right? That's where I'd beg to differ. See, at the start of the spring semester, I reinstalled Opal, and I set up blocks. So I had Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, the big three. Had them blocked from 6 a.m., which is when I woke up until 3 p.m., which is when I got out of class. And they blocked again at 9 p.m. every night. On the weekends, they were open from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. But all of those days, they had no more than 10-minute limit. I think Snapchat had a 15-minute limit, because I got people who text me on Snapchat, like exclusively, don't have their number, so just in case, you know, I got text on there. And at first I was bored. It pushed me to watch a lot of YouTube in my free time, and it pushed me to read more, which I think is absolutely a win. More reading, less scrolling. Even if I was filling my downtime with some sort of content, I would rather read a good book than scroll for 30 minutes and feel like I had genuinely wasted my time. And I think that's the litmus test here. To determine what deserves your attention, it really just boils down to, at the end of the activity, do you feel as though you've wasted your time? Do you regret what you did during that time? If the answer is yes, then see about cutting that back or cutting it out entirely. For instance, I have never regretted reading a chapter of a book. I've never regretted playing a good video game. I've never regretted getting outside to clear my head. But I have regretted spending too much time out of the day scrolling short-form content. I have regretted playing video games for too long. I've regretted not being mindful enough of my time here in this life and what I give my energy to. So ask yourself that simple question and decide for yourself what in life you should act to reduce or remove, and what provides substance and what is worth spending your time doing. But getting back to blocking the big three, I found that I was able to concentrate much better after just a couple weeks. Reducing the short form content definitely helped. Constant reading also definitely helped. Reading will absolutely improve your concentration. Yeah, I mean, you have to concentrate if you want to read. Sometimes I'd find myself watching too much YouTube. I'd just toss my phone up on my bed or something. Just get it away from me, you know. Close my laptop, pick up a book. And like, I don't want this to become another book or another video about reading. I made a whole video on that. But reading is a good counter to short form content in digital media consumption as a whole, and I cannot recommend it enough. And hell, after enough time of cutting out the big three, of cutting out the scrolling, reducing YouTube intake, I found myself with so much mental clarity that I was genuinely pondering. Like, I was deadass pondering more throughout my days than I had been in months, maybe years, dude. And this plays into, or something else plays into this, and that is cutting out background noise and or reducing it throughout my days. And I mean, what I mean by this is reducing music, podcasts, and YouTube videos in the background. Before I talk about that, though, I do want to circle back to to pondering. It got to a point in the mornings before my 8 a.m. classes. I was sipping my morning coffee, and I'd just chill in my dorm, sit on the couch or the futon we had, and do nothing but think. Nothing but think. I'd sit there. I'd get up at 6. I'd be showered by 6:20, and sitting down for my coffee. Showered and dressed by 6:20 rather. And I'd leave the dorm about 7:40 most days. And so I'd sit there for over an hour, just sitting, thinking about anything that came to mind. And my apps were blocked from the time I awoke. My roommate slept about 6 feet away from where I was chilling, and that was enough reason to avoid going on my laptop or turn on the TV. So I just sit and think. And I don't do this super regularly now. This was at my peak. This was at my peak of pondering. I still ponder. Whenever I feel mentally drained, or have been consuming too much media, whether that be video games, reading, or YouTube, I'll stop and I'll just sit there and I'll think. But I mean, this was such a good experience, man. I found that I was thinking to myself more throughout the day. This is still a persistent byproduct of all this. I realized that not only was I consuming a lot of short form content, but I always had like a soundtrack playing in the background, man. Didn't matter what I was doing. I could be walking across campus, doing homework, studying. I'd have something playing in the background. And around the time that I was starting to cut out the big three and getting off the doom and trying to reduce YouTube and whatnot, I started thinking, well, hell, if I'm seeing more mental clarity by cutting out all this, then surely having constant noise flooding my brain can't be good either. So I started to gradually reduce my music intake. And I have nothing against music. I have nothing against music or podcasts. I still love them. I still walk around listening to music every now and then. I still drive listening to music. But doing it any time I was walking, every time I was walking, that had to go. And that did go. Every minute in the gym I was listening to music, that also went. But you know, when you have something always flooding your ears, you start to produce less idle thoughts. At least I did. Hell, I had been producing less idle thoughts for probably years without even realizing it. And once I started to listen less, I started to think more. And in all that thinking, I came to the genuinely scary realization that I had been blocking out my natural day-to-day thoughts, like just going through the motions, just thinking about stuff, thinking about anything. And I mean, I grew to enjoy more intentional silence. I grew to enjoy I grew to form an appreciation for the sounds of the natural world. And I still love music, like I said. Music is so powerful for our emotions, for our creativity, for our mental as a whole. But at a certain point, and I know I'm not alone, at a certain point, it gets to a point where you're listening to too much. And that's where I was. So, like I said, I started cutting out music as I was walking across campus, which was very nice. Stopped listening to music while I was doing work, and I'd focus on one task. And I heard somewhere, I don't remember who said it, but in the Orthodox Christian faith, the monks and the monastic life is very significant. And a practice that the monks have is to not, they don't multitask, or as far as I'm aware, they don't multitask. They do one thing at a time. They commit their full attention to one thing at a time. And that's something I adopted throughout this as well. And that has been an incredible productivity altering, I don't know, trait, or just methodology, I suppose. And I even looped into this music. I'd stopped doing homework with music playing. I stopped playing video games with music playing. Yeah, even playing video games. One form of stimulus is enough. I don't need two. And I've just had so much more mental peace, so much more peace overall. I've been a lot less drained day to day. Because, you know, when you have stuff constantly flooding your brain is constantly processing information. Be it music, digital media, reading, video games, anything, conversations even. It doesn't rest. And yeah, we rest when we sleep. Our brain recoups when we sleep, but if you're giving it no time during the day to breathe, brother, no wonder you're burning out. Let it rest. Let it all rest. Just start slow. Don't try and be a monk. But Lord knows I'm not. But I'm trying to be better. Every day I'm trying to be better. Not every day's a day forward. Some days are setbacks. But as long as you can keep your eyes towards your goal, towards improvement, hell, that's a win in my book. Any day of the week, that's a win in my book. I know this video is kind of all over the place. Talked about a lot. Kind of threw some shade at the people who I've observed around college. No shade to them. I know I made some jokes, but I wish them the best, and I'm not judging anyone who still is caught up on doom scrolling and scrolling in general. I get it. I was for a long time. I'm just sort of now, I'm still in the process of breaking out of it. I'm still in the process of trying to get off social media entirely. I probably won't ever get off it entirely, but never say never. I don't know. Part of me likes posting stuff, but I don't like all the consumption. And I'm not perfect. I'm not claiming to be. Hell, I'm not trying to be. I know I can't be. But I don't know. This is something that's been on my mind. I've been planning this video discussion since January when I started blocking apps on Opal. I wanted to live it out before I sat down to discuss it. And I can say, at least personally, I have experienced many benefits from cutting out, or I keep saying cutting out. I have not cut out entirely anything. I've experienced many benefits from reducing overall input to my brain, whether that be digital media, music. By digital media, I mean short form content in YouTube and TV shows, movies as a whole. Music, video games. I haven't reduced reading because I think the benefits of reading outweigh the whole idea of media consumption as it relates to input output. But so yeah, I have not reduced reading. If anything, I need to increase reading, and I've been trying to increase reading. Always trying to increase reading. Right now I'm reading Lonesome Dove. That's unimportant. But yeah, I hope that something could be got from this. Like I said, start slow. Just maybe, I would recommend, if you want to get off these apps, I would highly recommend Opal. Any sort of app blocker. If you find yourself spending too much time on them, literally remove your phone or whatever device from your vicinity. Pick up something else. Go outside. Take a breather. It's alright. These things are designed to keep you hooked. They're designed to keep you coming back. They're designed to keep you stimulated. That's the whole point. Don't feel bad if you get roped back into it. That's the whole point. That's why they run off algorithms and they don't let you decide what you want to watch. They hook you into these feedback loops where you scroll and you like it. So you scroll again and you like it. So you scroll again. And it's what is that? What is that, a positive feedback loop? I don't know. Might be a negative one. Hell, my geology teacher would not be impressed. Already forgot about that. But, yeah, don't feel bad. Don't beat yourself up. It's a slow process. It'll take time. But you got time. And I would highly recommend giving it the time. It's needed. Don't rush it. Don't rush anything. Take everything slow. The mental benefits have just been so incredible. I've been in a constant good mood since I started reducing my intake on these apps and my consumption of these apps. I mean that honestly. Like I'm less irritable, less distracted, having less concentration problems, etc. All this. And I can sit down for a longer period of time and put my mind to something. And it's just been great benefits. That's all I got. Hopefully, I'm gonna try and push out more videos this summer. If you've watched this far, thank you very much for listening to me ramble. We're nearing 30 minutes. I think this will be the longest West Draco video to date. The end here has just been sort of me having fun with it, saying whatever, but thank you for watching. Hope you got something from it. Please, if you're interested in wanting to reduce your media intake, then please get after it. That's all I can tell you. My methods may not work for you, but hopefully at the very least, they can inspire you to try your own methods. Until next time, take care.